Hi, everyone. Thanks again for dropping into our channel here today, and to Bill, who sent us this question. Hey, Bill, how's it going, dude? Um, he asked, talk about the challenges and joys of writing together. What's it like to write together as a married couple? Okay, well, that's a really interesting question, Bill, because we've been doing this for over 30 years, running this business together. And in that, of course, involves writing our books, writing that together, writing landing pages, writing copy. There's a lot of different types of writing that we take on together. And that can be quite a challenge. When you're working together as a married couple is one thing, but when you're doing artistic work together as a couple, that kind of takes things to a whole new level. Now, we do have two separate offices. So mine is up on the upper portion of our home, and I have two desks, two monitors, lots of room to spread out my paperwork and my projects and activities, little stacks and piles of projects that I'm currently working on, lots of room to spread out. And that's really handy for me. The drawback is it's part of our living space, and that means the office never goes away. My back right now is to my living room, our living room. So, it really is part of the home. And Dave's is down in his studio. So the lower half of our home has been converted over to the Angle Hill studio. And Dave has his two desks down there with all of his equipment and whatever he needs. Now, because Dave, being a musician and much more technologically minded than I am, he handles those types of activities. And so he likes to have his own space for that. He doesn't want, to be interrupted by dogs or ringing phones or whatever. He needs his own quiet, his own seclusion for that, especially when it comes to like recording audio and working on videos and these types of activities where, he's really deeply involved in the visuals and the audio edits and what have you, creations and what have you. And so that's, where he does that. Now Dave also he works a full-time job and he plays in at least two bands, usually at a time. And so his time can be pretty limited, which brings in the extra challenge of trying to get things that are, kind of on his stack accomplished when his schedule can be so tight at certain times of the year. Maybe he's doing overtime at work because certain things, activities are happening at work. Maybe his bands are super active at this time of year. And so there's certain things where we have to be flexible and kind of elastic in our action plan, and balancing that out with, the understanding that, music is his passion. It's a part of our business. It also involves a lot of, behind the scenes activities that nobody sees. And so understanding what that all involves, having compassion for one another. Now, for myself, my time is also limited because, my responsibilities is managing the house, managing the dogs, the office, the gardens, the household office. I'm not talking business office, like household office things like communicating with family, um, remembering people's birthdays and anniversaries, I'm trying to think, paying bills, budgeting, all of those types of things that are done to run the house are basically fall on my shoulders. Most of the maintenance of running the gardens, the day-to-day maintenance of running the gardens in the yards is on my shoulders. Dave does the heavier, more equipment side of things, of course, building and, mowing and all of that kind of stuff. And I do most of the menu planning, the food prep, the most of the food processing with some help from Dave. I manage, like I say, most of the appointments, all of the budgeting. I find my days are really split in half, half to the house and the dogs and Dave and laundry and other types of activities, and half to dealing with the business. It isn't always exactly half, sometimes a little more one way or the other, depending on what's going on, but that's kind of how it flows. Now, this past year, we had a minor flood in the basement, and it was real minor. It was really minor, just water seeped in at the base of our floor. Wasn't very deep, wasn't a big deal, didn't do any damage to the walls, but it still meant that we had to take apart the studio, clean everything, do all the stuff you do when something like that happens. And then while everything was pulled off the walls and we had been doing all the work to, scrubbing the carpets clean and all of that, we made sure then to, do some extra things. So we put in like new curtains, we put new covers on the window, we painted, we did some upgrades down there as well. And then when Dave put all his equipment and instruments back, he made sure that it went back in mint condition. So everything he was, putting back in place was gone over with a fine tooth comb, as they say, making sure it was working properly, had all of the, proper everything's happening. And then it was put in place exactly where he wanted it to be. So it's really nice down there for him to work in now. This year, we've had a lot of different activities going on, from promotions and dealing with, our backlist of books that we're, always marketing, plus the ones that we released a couple of years ago, and the ones that we're working on now, which we had to set aside so many times because of a lot of different activities, including the flooded basement, were happening, that we had to, set aside. It just, life happened, and it was really frustrating because we want to get these other things published. It was really difficult, but we just found that a way to put on that solution mindset, and also learn to step back, slow down, do things properly, do things right, do things how, you want them to be presented, as best as they can be, and then move on to the next thing, have a plan, be organized, work together, work systematically. If I'm doing something behind the scenes, it's leading up to something that Dave is going to do. So I'm doing the behind the scenes task so that he can complete the project or something along those lines. And so helping each other, backing each other up, being compassionate, supporting each other, being each other's cheerleaders, holding each other accountable, giving each other a lot of space, being patient. That's how you work together as a spouse, as a couple. I hope this answered your question, Bill. Thank you for asking it. It was a great question.